Hello, I'm going to demonstrate for you how I release the tension in my jaw and in my face. I'm going to go into more detail than I have in the past because I'm going to include the muscles underneath the jaw and at the side where the curve in your lower jaw is. Um, so the way that I like to start, I'm going to take my finger pads, not the tips. Tips are sharp. That's not nice to you or anybody else. Finger pads every time. Okay, so you find your cheekbone. Okay, you're gonna come right underneath and close to the ear. You're gonna sink into the muscle. As soon as you hit that dense resistance, that's where you're gonna stop. Okay, and we're gonna pause and wait, and you'll feel the heat building. You will feel the tissue like starting to release, and as that tissue starts to get softer, then you're gonna traction, so pulling your finger straight down, nice and slow, to all the way to the bottom of the jawbone. Okay. Oh, it feels so good. So then we're going to go back up to the space right underneath the cheekbone. Finger pads. You're going to sink in. Wait for that sensation that you're getting a little bit deeper. Okay, and then you're just going to pull straight down. And you can see like how slowly this move is. The slower you go, the deeper you get. All right, and then we're going to do one more, sinking in. And it started sinking much faster that time. So yay, that's good. Okay. All right, and like I've got a little spot right here that's a little more crabby than everything else that I've touched. So I'm going to come in with a smaller tool. So I'm just going to use 2 fingers. Okay, and I'm going to sink in there. And this, on me, it wants to be pushed toward the front of my jaw. And how do I know that? That's just what feels right. So experiment with yourself when you hit those little spots that are like maybe a little more achy, feel a little more dense. Um, just create a sensation different than the other tissue around it. Okay, and then there it goes. Okay, now we're gonna move forward. So again, fingers underneath the cheekbone, sink in, and you're gonna like really sink in toward the front, but it's important that you do this pass. We're gonna come down nice and easy, just like you did on the back half. And even though like the tissue here is not super muscular, there's not a ton of muscle right here, we're still working with the fascia. We're still working with the smaller muscles that are around the mouth that allow you to smile and look sad and pucker and speak. So it's just as important to do this front pass right in here. And so I like to do 3 passes from the cheekbone to the very bottom of the jawbone here. Okay? All right. Ooh, yeah. Then you're going to come over and you're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So you're going to do one pattern on one side of the face, and you're going to do the same pattern on the other side of the face. Okay? All right, we're going to do the next step. So we're going to take the fingers, and now we're going to go from the ear all the way around to the nose. If that feels too strange for you, you can certainly start at the nose and come back toward the ear. It's totally up to you. Either direction works just fine. I personally prefer from the ear to the nose because you get the denser muscle first before coming into the space where there are fewer muscles. That's just my personal preference. So you choose what feels right in your body. Coming through. Keep going. Even though you come off of the big muscles, just keep on working. There we go. Pushing it through. Ooh, stretching it out. All right, we're going to do it again. Sink in with the finger pads, not the tips. Okay? We want to be kind to ourselves. And bring this forward, nice and easy. Oh, that was a nice release. Okay, and then we're going to do one more pass right up against the bottom of that cheekbone. So my fourth finger is tracing my cheekbone as I'm coming down. Okay, now we're going to come down. And so now the finger, the index finger is going to run right along the bottom of the jaw here. Okay. Gotta wait. There it goes. Coming through. And go all the way to the center of your chin. There you go. Okay, now we're going to do that again. So come in right in front of your ear. I know I have a headset on so you can't see, but go right in front of your ear. Okay, index finger at the bottom of the jawline. Sink in with the finger pads. Allow that tissue to move just a little bit before you actually start dragging the finger pads through. This is just a really gentle way to not only mobilize the fascial tissues, but also really engage the muscle tissues as well. So getting lots done in there. I can really feel my jaw starting to open up already. So again, once you're done with this pattern on one side of the face, you're going to go to the other side of the face and repeat the exact same pattern. Okay? All right. Okay. So now we're going to come into this space right here. So for me, in my anatomical structure, it's right where the cheekbone comes up into the nasal cavity here. And that happens to be on the flare of my nose. That's not going to be the case for everybody because our faces are built differently. Okay, so if you need to, just follow your cheekbone up and around. Okay, and then you're going to come in here. I'm just going to use one finger. If you have a wider face, you might want to use two fingers. Again, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm just going to use one. And again, finger pad. We're going to sink in and just come straight down. And sink in and come straight down. Please note, I'm not poking myself in the eye. I'm not up underneath the soft tissue of the eyeball. That's a different video. Okay? Right? And then we're going to come back. So this is just, I like to do these in just single passes. It just feels really nice. And again, it's helping to release smaller muscles that are involved with the nose, the lips. Okay, just soften all of that space up in there. Okay, then again, you're going to come over and we're going to do it on this side. Okay, so make sure once you get done doing one pattern on one side of the face, you go over and do it on the opposite side. Okay, let's start working on the bottom of the jaw. Okay, so underneath the jaw here, there's a very thin muscle. For my nerds out there, it's called the digastric muscle. And it really, even though it's not very big, like width-wise, it's quite long. It goes from basically from just inside the center of the chin all the way back to the throat. Um, and so there are a lot of other muscles like that are in the glossal group. So the glossal group of muscles are the ones that help you be able to move your tongue around. And they are accessible through the space underneath your chin. Unless you're really confident in where you're putting your fingers. I don't even do that to myself. Typically what I'll do is I'll do a tongue unwinding. And again, that's a different video. I actually have that one out there, a tongue stretching video. So go ahead and hunt for it. It's in the indexes. Okay. All right. So here, I'm going to use my thumb in here because that's what feels comfortable for me. But you can feel free to use a finger. Please experiment with what works for you. Okay. So we're going to come underneath the chin. And again, pads, not tips. Okay. And just sink in. And nice and easy. And as you come back toward the curve in the jaw, the sensation likely is going to change. It could be sharp. It could feel like it's more meaty in that space because it is. You might find yourself salivating, like producing saliva in your mouth. And that's because there's a bunch of glands back there, in addition to the muscle tissue. If like your mouth is just producing a ton of saliva, then you need to move inward just a little bit as you come back along here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate on this side. So we're going to sink in. Okay. And you don't need to tilt your chin up. I'm tilting my chin up so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to hold your head in neutral when you do this. Okay. So sinking the thumb in and just coming along the edge. All the way. And I will follow the curve up on my jaw, even though the digastric doesn't go up there. And that is just to help the central nervous system be like, oh, that's a complete stroke. Our bodies like things that feel finished when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay. So again, when you do this, your head is going to be in a nice neutral position. Okay, so down here like this. Okay, I have mine tilted up so that you can see what I'm doing. All right. Okay, this is the last part of this. So we're going to be working behind the corner of the curve of the jaw right here. And again, there are glands over there. So if when you get your thumb back there, all of a sudden your mouth starts filling with spit, you need to change where you're putting your thumb because you're right on a salivary gland. Don't push down on your salivary gland. Your body doesn't like that. Okay? So, and this is like, it's not the case for everybody that their salivary gland is right there, but for some people it is, which is why I'm putting it out there. Okay? All right. So we're going to come in right at the corner, right at the corner. I know I've got lots of extra older person padding there. Okay? And you're going to take the pad of the thumb. We're going to sink in and then you're going to hook up. Okay? And just hold it. Once it starts to feel easier to have your thumb in that space, then you can start your thumb and just gently rocking it back and forward there. So the muscle that you're working there is really one of the big players in things like TMJD issues, so temporal mandibular jaw dysfunctions. And that muscle actually goes across and up into the jaw a little bit. It's kind of a cool muscle. So when we release it, often what happens is that you'll feel the release. Like obviously you feel it, the discomfort over here, but sometimes people report they feel the softening on the opposite side. And that's because the muscle lies diagonally in the mouth. Okay. So again, you're going to come into the corner of the jaw using the thumb pad, just curve up and under. Start by just resting your thumb there. And you really need to soften your face in order to really get behind there. And then once you're there and your body's okay with it, then go ahead and just gently rub back and forth in that corner right there. All right. And then you're going to go and do it on the other side. Okay. Always do both sides. I always suggest to people you do one pattern, one pattern, one pattern, one pattern, one pattern, one pattern. Okay. Here, do the digastrics one side at a time, and then you do this little guy over here. Okay. I really hope this helps. This is one of the things that I do for myself, particularly my big cue actually is my bottom teeth. They will literally start twisting when my jaw gets too tight. And so I will work on those jaw muscles and then my teeth even out a little bit again. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a snaggletooth as it is, but it gets worse if I'm too tense. So for you, I hope that you can give yourself some time to do this treatment for yourself. I find it really, really helpful. Remember, you always deserve care. Thank you.